Want to try to demystify this idea of starting a business. A lot of times you'll hear people say it's too complicated. There's just too many moving parts. I wouldn't know where to begin. It's a mess. And in fact, a lot of people start businesses and fail almost immediately because they don't have the basics. So allow me to kind of distill down or reduce down to the most common elements of starting a business. Now, please understand that I'm leaving out a whole lot of pieces, steps, if you will, but I want to give you the basic elements because I believe if we can understand the basics, it's kind of like going back to elementary school and we had to learn A, B, C, D, the alphabet, and we had to learn one, two, three, and then we started to learn how one plus one equals, two. We're going to break it down, and I don't mean to overly simplify it, but this is where we're going. We're going to start with the basic elements and build from it. Okay. So, the very first thing you need, and I talk about this quite often, you need to have an idea. It needs to be a marketable idea, a product or service that you believe you can take to market. Now, there's some pieces that go along with that. You can't just say, oh, I want to sell Yeti cups. No, you need to do a little bit more thinking than that. In fact, I encourage you to never start a business unless you have a passion about that product or service, you have some knowledge or experience or education with that product or service. Because if you're not passionate about it, meaning you need something that's going to stick with you forever and ever, amen, right? If you don't have a passion for it and you certainly don't have a knowledge or experience with it, it's going to be very, very difficult for you. Trust me, my very first business, I knew nothing about what I was doing. It took us 4 years of hardcore work to become successful. Then we sold it. Okay, so the first thing you need is a marketable idea. You have to come up with an idea. Every business is conceived in the brain before it is a product. Okay? The next thing you need are customers. Who's going to buy this product or service from you? If you don't know who they are, this goes to the biggest thing that people miss when they're starting a business, and that is research. You have to research the product or service idea. Now, you might say, well, Philip, I don't think this product or service exists in the market right now. And I would say, what are the alternatives that exist? In other words, what do customers do to fill that gap? They're doing something. You might say, well, they're not doing anything. Do your research. You need to know who your customers are. You need to know how much they can afford. Where do they shop? What are their habits? Maybe you need to understand their education or their socio-demographics, or are they Christians or Muslims or Buddhists, or they're agnostics or atheists, or maybe you're wanting to focus in on the LGBTQ plus community. I don't know. Okay. But you have to understand who your customers are, understand their social thinking patterns and their maybe their genetics. I don't know. You have to do research. Then you have to understand what competition is out there in the market. You need to know what you're up against. This allows you to understand the alternatives that exist, which also allows you to understand where the gaps are in the marketplace. You see, what it comes down to is that you're creating a product or service that is solving a problem that a customer or the market has. If you're not solving the problem or doing it better than what already exists, maybe you're elevating or raising the bar, elevating the game, then you're going to have a hard time competing. Now you might say, "Well, I just want to sell coffee in my little town in a little quaint, main street, and I'm not trying to compete with Starbucks." You still have to solve a problem. If there's 16 coffee shops on Main Street, you may not be solving the problem. Understand that. So you need to understand who the competition is. Now, this is also part of research. When you do this type of research, what you're going to find is that you start to understand what the products are being what the products are being sold for, what the packaging looks like, how they're distributed, where you can find them, all sorts of things. What are the benefits of that product? What are the features of that product or service? Okay, so those are three basic things, but here's the fourth thing. You need a way to sell it. Now, what I do is I teach people how to start online businesses. And the reason why I do that is because I love automation. And I love the fact that I can leverage my time and my money through automation, which means I can run a very large business with just a small amount of staff. In fact, the business I run, it's me. I'm I'm the company, and I can automate what I do through the internet. Okay, now there's one final thing. Just because you have a place to sell it doesn't mean that you yet have a way to collect money for it. Okay, so you need to have some way of collecting money. Now, there's all sorts of tools out there. You have PayPal and Venmo and Stripe and Cash App, and there's all sorts of different options. And oh, by the way, the place to sell it, there are websites out there or services that'll help you build a website from a template form. In fact, I use Wix, Wix.com. It's great and it's relatively inexpensive. So you need a marketable idea of a product or service. You need to know who the customers are and what problem you're solving for them. Understand who the competition is and what the alternatives are in the market. Have a way to sell your product and have a way to collect money for that product. So those are the 5 basic elements for getting started. Now, obviously, there's a whole lot more that we can talk about. So, with that being said, follow me for more tips and advice on starting and running a small business online. And also, I talk about inspiration, motivation, and I try to be funny sometimes. Links in the bio. Have a good day.